excited to be in Bermuda with you this evening. Thank you so much. And thank you for your wonderful introduction. Thank you, Pastor, for having us. We're uber excited to be here. But we've decided that we're going to temper our excitement so we can focus on the matter at hand, correct? Amen. It is a blessing and an absolute pleasure to see your beautiful faces and your lovely smiles. It helps us to feel even more welcome than we already feel, and it warms our hearts. So thank you very, very much. I also realize that this is a hugging church, and that works very well for us because we are hugging people. So thank you very much. It's an honor and privilege to be in your presence, not only this evening, but for the remaining of the time that we will be with you. So thanks. We're going to talk today about specifically looking at married couples and relationships in general. I know that there's some people in the midst who may be courting and preparing for the marital experience. Bless you for being married for 42 years, more than a lifetime for many people. Bless you. That in itself is a feat. And for our 2-year married people, we have a lot to look forward to. What a blessing. That's totally awesome. So in marriage, I often hear some selfishness. And sometimes it sounds like, I love you, and I also love me. That's what it sounds like in marriage. I love you, and I love me. So we're talking about how selfishness may impact marriages, how it may impact the health of one's marriage. So think about and ask yourself the question, if you're in a marriage or if you're in a dating relationship, do you ever wonder if your relationship has gone beyond the point of repair? Sometimes we're in our experiences and we feel so frustrated and we wonder, goodness, can this get better? Will this get better? Have you ever had thoughts like these? Oh no, I am too hurt. These wounds are too deep. There's too much damage that's been done. I can't take it anymore. I have a girlfriend who got married earlier this year. And within the first week of her marriage, she called me and she said, "What did I do?" She was in a state of shock. I have another girlfriend who 2 months before her divorce, unfortunately she's divorced right now, she asked herself, how could I have made such a huge mistake? And this was after 12 years of marriage. So we go through times and experiences in our marital relationships that sometimes brings such pain. We ask ourselves, is it possible to get past this hurt? Can I move past this pain? I want to tell you that yes, you can. Here is the truth about these realities. We all enter relationships with wonderful views, don't we? Lots of excitement. We think, woohoo, this feeling is going to last for how long? Forever. The euphoria we experience at the beginning of our love relationships, we think it's going to last for forever. We're on cloud, not even 9 or 10, but cloud 15. And we are sailing high. And we wonder, wow, this is going to be it forever. Who here, when they first decided to say I do to their partner, thought, you know what? In a few months, he's going to get on my nerves. In a few weeks, I am going to want to walk out on her. In a few years, I'm going to leave the island of Bermuda and leave him right here. Who had those thoughts at the beginning when all that euphoria was there? Nobody, correct? Because all the love was there and it felt so amazing. But the truth of the matter is marriage and relationships in general can be very challenging. And the honest reality is a marriage can be the most challenging relationship that we ever engage in. The most challenging relationship we ever engage in. And there's a reason for that, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Research shows that many people who reported being unhappy in their marriages but choose to stay together. So they're unhappy, they have all those thoughts that we talked about, but they choose to stay together. They later report being very happy in those same marriages. So I'm unhappy, but I'm going to stay. And because I stay, I eventually become very happy in that marriage because I am choosing to grow in this same marriage with this same person that I wanted to fly off the island of Bermuda to run away from. I'm choosing to stay. I want you to consider something, but before we talk about that, let's pray again. God, we know that you created marriages and that we are the apple of your eye. So we just thank you for creating something so very special that you would allow two beautiful people to come together to form a union. And so we pray that in our marriages and our relationships that we will seek you first. So all goodness will be ours because of you. We trust you, Daddy, to bless us. In Jesus' name, amen. So consider that despite these stats, we have feelings that we experience from time to time in our marriages, right? We talked about that. And some of these feelings can fade, and some of them will come and go. And we decide what we're going to do with these emotions. So think about if you said to your partner, they caused me to feel a certain way. What would happen if you thought about, in this moment, the last time your partner caused you to feel frustrated, upset, annoyed, angry? What did they do to cause these feelings? Don't tell us. Keep that to yourself right now. What did your partner do to cause you to feel upset, annoyed, angry, frustrated? You have that feeling? You have that experience? Okay. Now I'd like you to shift and think on this. What did your partner do to cause you to feel loved, to cause feelings of enjoyment, gratification, satisfaction? You felt appreciated, honored, loved. What did your partner do to cause you to have these set of feelings? When was it? What did they do to stimulate those thoughts? Now ask yourself, are you connected with the feelings that were frustrating? Or are you connecting with the feelings that were gratifying? Which experience are you choosing to hold on to? Not that your partner caused you to experience, but the feelings you are choosing to wrap your hands around and hold on tightly to. It's a choice that we make. I wonder what you want to choose. We'll talk about that a little later. So the keys to having the best relationship, that's what Pastor you said I was talking about today? Keys to having the best relationship? I believe there are 3 keys to having the best relationship. Those include honesty, being honest with ourselves and with our mate. That also is forgiveness. We forgive time and time again in our marital relationships, don't we? And again, and again. And then communication. Let's talk about honesty and what that means. How many in here feels that they're an absolute honest person? They're honest about everything all the time, every day. Don't raise your hand. Honesty is the most challenging thing. It's most challenging not only in our relationships with our partners, but it's also honest. It's challenging to be honest with oneself. And sometimes we don't realize that we're having a hard time being honest with ourselves. The definition of honesty is the ability and desire to be totally truthful and transparent about yourself and every aspect of your relationship. Every aspect of your relationship. Imagine that concept. Do you think honesty matters in a relationship? This definition of honesty, it matters. Yes? Okay. How do you think honesty impacts intimacy? Or do you think it does? If I choose to be honest about this area and not about this area, it affects the relationships, yay or nay? Yay? Okay. If I choose to be honest to the best of my ability in all areas of my relationship, it affects intimacy, yay or nay? Absolutely. And so it's imperative that we choose to be honest. The first person with whom, though, we must be honest is whom? Ourselves. How can I expect you as my mate to be honest with me if you're being deceptive with yourself? And I challenge you to think that there are many times that you're not even aware that you're being dishonest with yourself. We do our best a lot of times in all our experiences, and we try our best, and unfortunately there are times that we're dishonest with our mates because of our inability to be honest with ourselves. But we can do something about that. Why do you think we have a hard time being honest with ourselves or with our mates? What are some of the indicators, or what are some of the blocks to our honesty? Say that again. Fear. Ooh, fear. Absolutely. We're afraid of a number of things. I love that word, judgment. We're afraid of rejection in our relationships. We're afraid of being found out. We're afraid of being honest and sharing who we really are. Because if I do, will I be judged by you, the person that I've pledged my entire life to? So instead of being totally open and vulnerable and naked and fully honest, I'm going to keep some of these things wrapped up right here because this feels more comfortable for me. But that affects the relationship. And if I have pledged myself to you eternally, which is what marriage is, I am pledging myself to you till death do us part, correct? The encouragement is, let's be completely 100% honest with each other. So we talked about the fear of rejection. What does rejection feel like to a man? I'm not a man. One man in the room, tell me. What is fear of rejection or judgment? Great word that was used. What does that feel like? Shame, absolutely. There is shame ascribed to being judged. Who wants that? I don't want someone to do that to me. Absolutely not. For a woman, what does fear of rejection feel like? Inadequacy. My goodness, I am not enough. So I will continue to hide myself here because it's safer right here. Absolutely. So we fear rejection in a relationship that means so much to us because we don't want to be judged. We don't want to feel shame. We don't want to feel inadequate. So we hide under levels of dishonesty because it feels vulnerable to do these things. It feels vulnerable to say, here I am. Because we wonder, will you still accept me? Will you still love me? Will you still care for me if I show you these things? We're also afraid of being found out. So we hold back and we hide things from our partner, don't we? We hide things from our past. We hide things that we feel shame about. Many things. It could be about abuse that we've experienced in the past. And abuse could be varied: physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, verbal. I don't want to tell you about who did what to me, when, how, and why. So I'll pretend that this is not my reality. Infidelity, dishonesty, addictions, anger, hurt, pain, hatred. I've had clients who've had complete opposite lives to the ones that they're in the counseling relationship about, hiding because they're afraid of what their mate might see and what might happen as a result. I want you to ask yourself this question. What are you hiding from your partner? Turn it inward and ask, what am I hiding from my partner? And then ask, why? Why am I hiding from my partner? I have a client, a former client, a couple. Their names were Eden and Ted. Not really. Those are the names I gave them for this experience. Eden and Ted were friends in college. They met, got married, finished their degrees, moved away, had children. Everything was wonderful. Eden decided that she would not share with Ted that she had a history of childhood sexual abuse. She thought, well, I'm entering this marriage with this man, and he loves me, and I love him, and we're starting our new lives together, and everything is wonderful. Remember that euphoric experience we talked about that we have at the beginning? Everything is wonderful. Nothing will ever go wrong. Yeah. I love him. I love her. Yay. And so she said, I am going to keep this from Ted. I'm going to hide this part of myself. So 5 years into the marriage, things were continuing to go well. They had their first child. Things continued to be well. She thought, this is fabulous. I don't need to share anything with him. After their second child, something happened. Something occurred within Eden that triggered the memories, the history of her childhood sexual abuse. and it started to affect her in a way she never imagined possible. It affected her sleep, her work. It started affecting her personality. She started changing, becoming a different person, someone that Ted did not recognize. And he didn't know how to deal with it because he didn't know what was going on. It wasn't until some time later, so they had their second child. She was having a hard time being a mother, parenting. She decided, I need to figure out what's going on, so I'm going to seek professional help. In her counseling experience was when she was able to connect the dots to the triggers of the second birth of her child to her experience with CSA, childhood sexual abuse. As a result, she worked through some of the challenges. She and Ted went through some of the therapeutic experiences together. When Ted realized what happened, he was surprised and asked her, we dated for so many years and we'd been married for so many years before what happened? Why didn't you tell me about this? If I knew beforehand when things started happening, I could have been more helpful. I could have supported you better because I would have known what was going on and how I could have walked with you through this process. But our lives became so turned around as a result of this. Had I known, he said, beforehand, I think I could have been of greater help. Eden said, I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was afraid. And he was like, what are you talking about? I love you. What are you embarrassed about? I love you. We can work anything out. We're working it out now. She said, yeah, it's true. But this is how I felt. Embarrassed, afraid, ashamed. It's many years since this experience happened. They have worked through it. It was very challenging. At that time, their children were 3 and 1.5. Their children are now in high school. They're doing much better. The marriage has been salvaged. They worked through a multitude of issues. But Ted's challenge was, had you shared this with me before, I would have known how to support you better, and we could have walked through this better together without being hidden and in the darkness that it was a part of. And so the challenge is, why hide it? Don't fear your partner, the person who loves you, the person to whom you have committed. Trust them to walk with you through the challenges that we experience. So we talked about fear. That's one of the challenges of honesty. And honesty is one of the indicators that can contribute to a successful marriage. Another one is communication. And being able to communicate in a way that is selfless, and also being able to let go of things that are not necessary. Forgiveness. That's vital to have a successful marriage. So when we connect and communicate in a selfless way, one of the ways we can do that is by speaking our partner's love language. Do you know what your partner's love language is? Do you know what your love language is? Are you familiar with the terminology love language? Have you done the test? You figured out what your partner... Okay, excellent. Do you speak to your partner in your partner's love language? That's the challenge. In our selfish reality, because we're humans, we like to have things our way, right? It's easier. It just makes more sense sometimes. We tend to speak to our partners in the language that is ours, because it comes naturally to us. So the love languages are acts of service, words of affirmation, gifts, physical touch, and quality time. And so, for example, Lindsay's 2 primary love languages are quality time and physical touch. my primary love languages are acts of service and words of affirmation. And so it's easy for me to want to do something for Lindsay because that comes naturally for me, because that's what I want Lindsay to do for me. And it's easy for Lindsay to want to give me a hug and hold my hand because that's easy. That comes naturally for him. What the selfless thing to do is for me to say, instead of going and washing the dishes to show Lindsay that I appreciate him, let me sit with him on the couch and hang out, because that speaks his love language. Lindsay's so good at saying, I know that putting the garbage out every Tuesday night is important to Nivighi, so he puts it in his phone for a reminder because that will speak my love language. So think about your mate. If you know their love language, which I saw lots of head nods, ask yourself, am I speaking in my mate's love language? Or am I doing what I do because it's easier for me to do this, and because it's more comfortable? And if the answer is the latter, I encourage you to embrace the former. Speak in your partner's language of love, because that speaks selflessness. Speaking in a language that is uncomfortable, that is unfamiliar, that takes more work, that is easier to do, not my love language, but my mate's love language. So here is where you can get information about your love language. Is there anyone that needs me to show you how to navigate that? We're all good on that? So the ultimate selflessness. When Christ was in the Garden of Gethsemane, did he want to go to the cross? 3 times, what did he ask God? Let this cup pass. He did not want to go to Calvary. He didn't want to do that. But his father said, no, I need you to speak in the love language my children need. I know this is not what you want. This doesn't feel comfortable for you. But I need you to go to Calvary, because that is what my children need you to do. Do you think God wanted to send our brother, his one and only son, to Calvary? Did he want to do that? Was that comfortable? But in God's selflessness, what did he do? He said, go. This is what I need you to do for my children. The ultimate act of selflessness. So if Christ can do it, and if God can do it, who are we not to speak in the love language of our mate, the person that we have pledged our lives to forever? I encourage us to be selfless in our love relationships. Some of the ways we can do that, and this is an activity I encourage clients to do, is what I call our gift boxes. And with our age of modern technology, I sometimes just ask clients to pull up an app on their phone, a notes app, exchange their phones with each other, and put in the notes, or put in the box, ways that you want your partner to show you love in your love language. What are tangible, actual things that your partner can do for you to show you they love you? That would mean something to you. So, if your primary love language is words of affirmation, of course I'm going to choose that because that comes naturally for me, right? I would put in my box, tell me how beautiful I am every 3rd day. And Lindsay would say, of course I will, darling. And then in Lindsay's box, or on his list, he would say, come and sit with me while I'm watching a football game, because because that's what would speak love to him. And I'd like you to do that every other Sunday. And I'd say, of course, darling, because I love him. So put in your box or on your list tangible ways that you'd like your partner to show you love. Then exchange that box or that list. Then take the next step. Do it. And be specific about how often you'd like to see it done. That is one way to improve and increase the marital relationship you have. Forgiveness is also very important. How many times did Christ say we needed to forgive? Was it 7 times? And when he said 70 times, did he actually mean that number? An infinite number of times. Think about even just today, how many times you've already forgiven your spouse. This week, this month, this year. So 70 times 7. It is imperative that we become experts at forgiving our spouses, our partners, ourselves in our marital experiences. Sometimes the challenge is not necessarily forgiving the person beside you, but it's forgiving the person right here because of things you may have done and or said that you're having a challenge with. And so the encouragement is forgive your partner, forgive yourself in the process. So you evaluate your relationship, you establish clear boundaries, you till the earth to plant new, fresh experiences in your marriage in order to have your healthy experiences. A lot of times we are blocked in our marriages because we're holding on to stuff that happened yesterday, last week, last month. I have a client who's been married for 6 months, and we're working through something that happened at the wedding because she's having a hard time letting go of the hurt and pain that happened at the inception of their relationship. If we're unable to forgive, we're unable to build and grow. We're unable to get to 42 years of a marital experience that will be beneficial and gratifying and satisfying. So moving forward is necessary. A part of that includes evaluating our relationship and deciding whether or not we need to do things differently, how we need to speak differently, interact in a way that's healthful and healthy. Instead of deciding that I'm going to throw in the towel, I choose to implement healthy relational practices to grow the love that I have for my partner. Part of that includes establishing boundaries. Some of that includes having regular check-ins and communication. The pastor stole a little bit of my thunder when he talked about men taking their cars to get oil changes. Because a part of having a healthy relationship is having regular checkups. So you men, I know you love your vehicles. Sometimes, maybe more than you should. I'm joking. I think of relationship check-ins and checkups as you would the oil change in your car or your dental visits. The recommended, is it 3,500 miles to take your car to get an oil change? Kind of. 6 months to get your dental checkups. I encourage clients to do the same thing with their marriages. Whether the check-in is something you do with each other or with a counselor, I encourage regular check-ins as you would an oil change or a dental visit. One of the ways Lindsay and I do that is by what's called DTR. It's the daily temperature reading. It's a way to check in with each other on a regular basis to get a sense for where your relationship is and what's going on. We started this when we were dating, and I had an assignment on Okinawa. So Lindsay and I are in the States. I had an assignment on Okinawa, Japan. So that was thousands and thousands of miles away. And I was gone for 6 months. And Lindsay said, "You're going for how long?" So we decided that we needed a way to stay connected, to keep our relationship healthy and strong. And so we started our daily temperature reading. And that's like a check-in. It's like a checkup. So we want to show you how the DTR is enacted. So DTR involves 5 check-ins, 5 areas of a check-in. Appreciations, new information, puzzles, concerns with recommendations, wishes, hopes, and dreams. And so we're going to show you how we do it. When we were apart, we did it, was it weekly?
Yep, every Friday.
We did it every week. When we have, since we've gotten married, we continue that. We slacked off during the engagement. I'm not sure what that was about. But since we've been married, we have enacted it again on a weekly basis because we think it's important to maintain the health of our relationship. So every week, this is what we do, and we encourage you to have this be a part of what your oil change or your dental checkup is for your marital experience as well. So this is how we start. So appreciations. What do you appreciate about me?
All right, darling. So I appreciate how you always want the best for me, even if I can't see that at the time.
Even if you can't see that at the time. Thank you. I appreciate your support. You're an amazingly supportive, loving, kind husband, and I appreciate that about you. So you go through the DTR, the daily temperature reading, just like this. I sometimes tell clients you can go through it simply doing your check-ins for the areas, or you can stop and have conversations about the things that come up with the DTR. You make a decision as a couple how that needs to look for you. So, new information, dear.
Okay, new information.
Oh,
that's right.
So we switch off. Since he started last time, then I start. New information. You were smart by writing your notes down beforehand. New information at the top of my head. My new information is that I am going to the spa when we get home.
Okay. Okay, my new information is that we are submitting a new proposal at the office. Okay. So it looks like we'll have a new contract, which is very exciting.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that with me.
Okay, so next is puzzles.
Puzzles.
So I'm leading this one.
Yes.
Or I'm starting this one.
Yes.
So puzzled. I'm puzzled why you get up at 3 a.m. to work, to do work.
You're puzzled why I get up. Okay. Thanks for sharing that with the church. I am puzzled. What puzzles me? I am puzzled. I'm puzzled about your super excitement. When we got to the island, Lindsay looked around and said, "Paradise." And that was puzzling to me, but I'm excited about it.
So concerns with recommendations.
Concerns with recommendations, that's my beginning. So I'm concerned that we are leaving Bermuda in a few days, and I recommend that you figure out a way to have a stay in Bermuda.
Okay, so my concerns with recommendations. I'm concerned when you get up so early, and I recommend that you spend the entire night with your loving husband.
Ooh. He is really telling you stuff, aren't you? It's for Amen. Praise God for the Sabbath. And the next one is wishes, hopes, and dreams. You go first.
Okay, so I wish that you will have a successful presentation tomorrow.
Thank you.
I hope that you can help lots of people.
Okay, thanks.
And I hope that we get invited back here again and again.
Okay, all right. So I wish, let's see. I wish, and I forgot to say, usually keep the focus on the relationship, because you could be outside and wish and hope for a lot of things outside of the relationship, but you want to keep it on you, on the marital experience. So I wish that we will grow in love more and more and more as the days go by. I hope that this will not be the last time that we stand in front of an audience and do the DTR. I dream of continual health and wellness in our marriage, because what we have is really good. Yep. Thank you, Lindsay.
You're welcome.
Your phone. And so I encourage couples to do just that. What that does, if you're doing that on a regular basis, it keeps you connected. It keeps you communicating. It keeps you checking in. You don't run and hide when you know on Friday afternoon you're doing DTR. It may feel uncomfortable at the onset. Feels a little bit weird, actually. And it feels vulnerable. It challenges your shame. It challenges your feelings of insecurity. It challenges your desire to hide. While it challenges those things, it enhances love. It enhances communication. It causes you to grow. When Lindsay and I first started doing the DTR many years ago, we looked at each other and we were filling and fishing and pulling for a number of things. Now it flows. Obviously, it didn't flow as much for me as it did for him up here just now. But it's an easy, relational, communicative experience. It's something that you begin looking forward to because you know it's something that's going to enhance the love that you're wanting to grow, nurture, and keep flowing. And so the encouragement is to continue to experience DTR together, to have regular check-ins. Philippians 3:12 through 14, it talks about, who can read that? Can someone see that? We all know this verse, a very popular one, isn't it? Not that I have already obtained all this or have already arrived at my goal, but I press on to take hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. I do not consider myself to have yet to taken hold of it, but one thing I do. One thing I do. I forget what is behind and I strain toward what is ahead. I press on toward the goal to win the prize which God has called me heavenward to Christ Jesus. We go through a lot in our marriages. Sometimes there are things that we never imagined would be our reality. If you have lasted, and I'm just excited about 42 years, but if you have lasted, and I say lasted because it takes grit to stay in a commitment, a lifetime commitment for 42 years. And if you choose, that's not by happenstance. If you choose to stay committed to one person, you've got to forget some things. And you have to press toward a number of things. You have to choose to make that your reality. And in so doing, you can move forward and make it to 42 and 43 and 44 and 50 and 60 years. And not just making it, but having a satisfying, fulfilling, gratifying, fun enjoyable marital experience. But that's a choice that you decide to make. You decide whether or not you're going to be in a relationship that is challenging and a drag and do I really have to go home tonight? Or I cannot wait to see my honey. I'm so excited to be with my sweetie. And when you speak about your partner, the love that exudes, that's a choice that we make. What choice will you make? Will you choose to move forward, to forgive, to be honest, to communicate? Are those the choices you will make? I hope that is what you will choose. Because that's what our God wants for us. He wants us to choose to implement strategies and to move forward. There's a song I'd like to play for you as we get ready to close. And it encourages us to do just that. To move forward in our relationships, in our marriages, to forget the things that are behind us, to move forward, to forgive, to choose to move forward and forgive our partners for the things that have caused us pain, that have caused us hurt, that we're working through, that we want to be different in our marital experiences. You choose what you want your marital experience to be. You decide what you want your reality to be. You choose to move forward if you so desire. I want you to think about a few questions as you're deciding whether or not you're going to move forward. I want you to take a moment, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask yourself the following questions. Does my partner really know who I am? Do I show my partner the person I am deep within? Am I ready to forgive? Will I set healthy boundaries in my relationship? When will I move forward? Have you been telling your partner who you really are? And if you have, fantastic. Because this is the best way toward true intimacy, authenticity, and healing, the keys to having the best marriage or relationship. If you know deep within yourself that you have not revealed your true self fully to your partner, I ask you to find out why. Ask yourself why. And then begin anew today. Start fresh. Move forward in your relationship with your partner. God wants us to press toward that mark for the prize of the high calling in our relationship with ourselves and in our relationship with a person that we have committed to for life. We choose to move forward. So in the beginning, I asked you to think about your marriage, right? I asked you to think about a time that your partner may have caused you pain, had done something to you to make you feel frustrated or angry or annoyed, and you came up with that experience. And then I asked you to shift to a time that your partner did something that caused you to feel loved and appreciated and cherished. And you were able to connect with that emotion as well, weren't you? And so you chose. You chose to shift from the anger and the pain to the joy and the gratification and the love. And just as you chose that, I encourage you to choose today to move forward, to forgive, to connect, to communicate, to be honest, to go deeper, to open up, to be vulnerable with your partner. That is my encouragement to you today. And I pray that that is what you will choose. Thank you.